All right, this week we are now going to move on to our 64 Falcon hardtop. We're going to show you how to put a hood on a 64 Falcon, the easiest and best way that I know how to do it, with some real good tips and tricks on how to remove that stupid center post that they put up there for the latch assembly, which works great, but it is an absolute nightmare to remove sometimes, just simply because we are now at 60 years for this car. It's really old. And I'll tell you how I know, because I was born in '63. So after the break, we're going to start rocking and rolling on this thing. Stick around.
For 45 years, the Miller family and the dedicated staff at Autocrafters have been here helping you to restore your dream Ford. Thank you for your support. Here's to another 45 years of delivering parts for your Falcon, Fairlane, F100, Galaxy, Maverick, and Pinto.
What I'm showing you here pretty much applies to 1963 all the way up to 65 Falcon. So if you've got one of those cars, you're going to want to pay attention to what we've got going on today. Now the first thing I'm going to talk about is I have made some shims here for me to use on the back edge of this hood, because I personally like to set the hood first. You'll note I've wrapped them to a relative thickness. It should get me right off the back edge of this on a fairly tight set. This is only an ish. This is not what's going to be in here for final, possibly. But what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to take this and set it here. And I'm only going to tape it into position, because when you start playing around with the hood and dropping it into place, these can move around some. So I'll do this on the other side as well, and now we've got a place to bump that hood up against after we get it set when we're putting it down. Coarse thread or fine thread? There's only one way to know, and you have to look down inside of here to find out. I'm pretty sure in '65 they went to a coarse thread bolt on all the attaching hardware for the front ends and pretty much everything on the Falcon. 64 and 63 are a fine thread. And what you want to do if you're using an old used hoods like this one I've picked up off of eBay years ago, you're going to want to go in and chase these threads out with a tap. And you can see the amount of schmutz and dirt I've already picked up out of this hole. This will make the hood easier to install, because you're going to be running your fasteners in and out of there. And I'm also going to throw some more of my PB Blast down in that hole just to kind of get it lubricated up a little bit. Now I'll go in and I'll put my tap in here. You want to start lightly threading it. You don't want to thread it fast and hard. By the way, it's high winds today, so if you hear a bunch of knocking when I'm working, that's what you're hearing. I'm putting a little pressure downward on the tap. You don't want to go too deep, because you don't want to impact the back of your hood, but you want to go deep enough that you can get a good bite on those threads. And you'll go through and do all 4 of these. Now, start off with a fine on these hoods, because most of the time they are probably a fine thread. But like I said, I am not sure if 65 ran a fine thread or a coarse thread. Just something to be aware of. Careful stepping through. We have some riders. All right, now I've made some studs to sit this on so that we can get the hood installed. It helps a little. I'm going to let him get his started first.
How tight?
Just get 3 or 4 threads started so I can get mine going.
All right, he's good.
Okay. I can't really see where I'm at, so. All right, go ahead and get it tightened up a little bit, not snug, just kind of to where the hood doesn't roll forward much. So there's just a hair of space in there. Okay, that should be good enough for now. Now, you'll take these studs, can come out. Keep them, because you'll never know when you'll be putting another hood in, and you'll just put the other bolt in. Yeah, that's good enough. All right, now one of the things I like to do is you take the hood latch assembly off. so that you don't have to be fighting that on the latch piece down here every time you're closing the hood. That's simply done with a 3/4 inch wrench on this. And if your hood's in good shape underneath, you won't have to worry about this coming out hard. There's a slot here for a flat blade screwdriver. Let's hope it's easy to get out. And it's not going to be easy to get out. Now we've got that undone. And I'm going to go ahead and take these two pieces off here. 1/2 inch wrench. Concerned that that one is, it may not be coming out like I want it to. There it is. Welcome to Fine Threads. Now, we may, gotta get some PB Blast on that. I didn't even get it with with any of the PB Blast, but what we'll do is we'll chase those threads, we'll clean this up and reinstall them on here so that they will go back in a lot easier than they're coming out. I'm just going to do the rest of this one off camera, and we're going to show you how to get this thing to come loose in just a second. All right, I've thrown a little bit of PB Blast on this side of the stud and on the inside, hopefully being able to get some of the penetrant down inside of the thread area here. I'm also going to tap it on the bottom with a brass hammer. I'm kind of loath to do this, but if you can't get it to move with a flat blade screwdriver in here, which I cannot, you're going to end up breaking that tip off, and then you're going to have another problem. So the only other thing I can think to do is to use this, the locking pliers, because most of your sitting area is down in here on a hood latch like this. You want to go further back up the shank. Oh, there we go. Always tap it first with a hammer. We used a brass hammer. That will sometimes shake loose the junk that's holding the threads together. And now we can pop it out of here. Well, I had it loose. You saw it move. It did spin. Am I correct? Just thought maybe my mind was going a little bit. And you can use whatever penetrant you want on this. I'm using PB because it's what I've got here in the shop. That's really weird that it would move just a little bit and then not move ever again. I hate to do it, but I'm going to apply a little bit of heat to the bolt. Oh, smoke ring. It was pretty cool. Problem I'm having is the same problem you're going to have. The stud is just a really crap place to put any kind of plier for getting it to do what you want it to do, because it's just going to spin on it. All right, now what I'm going to have to do now that I've got it moving is I'm going to have to work it back and forth. All I'm doing is trying to work that rust on around. And since I've got a decent purchase, I'm just going to keep moving it back and forth until I get that stud out of there. The one thing you don't want to do on something like this is knock loose the welded nut that's in there, because then you have to go in and start doing some crazy stuff to get this to seat. See where the darker threading is? That's where the rust was at on the upside of this. Upper arm work. All right. There it is, that's out now, and now we can start doing some of our other things we're supposed to be doing today. Now I'm tired. All right, with the center stud out now, we can go in and start playing with the hood adjustment. Now what you're going to want to do is drop your hood to about right here. It's too tight. I'm going to have to loosen the hood up just a little bit, because what you're going to want to be able to do is pull that hood forward. I'll put my wrench in my back pocket and never remember it's back there. Okay, we're now all the way on the forward stops, and we can drop the hood into place. It's sitting on the bumpers, and something that you can do here, it's all right. Now the hood is now sitting off at the back, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the hood into position on the little bumpers I've made. I'll pick this bumper up just a hair so it's kind of resting high. That one looks like it might be okay. And I'm going to push the hood in. Yeah, I'm going to have to pick that bumper up a little bit. It's up against that bumper, it's up against that bumper. Pull it out just a little bit on this side. That was more than a little bit, wasn't it? All right, I'm going to leave it right here for now. I'd like to see a little less gap in the back. It's either doing gross or fine. Not getting a lot of in between here. This is what it's all about. It's the fit and fiddle. Yeah, it's up against the bumper there too. I'm going to go with that. Now what you're going to want to do at this point, this is why you don't want the latch in the way. You're going to want to gently pull up on the hood to about right there where you can start tightening these bolts up. I have to get a socket to get the front ones now because I'm running into the studs that are on the hood hinge. When you're doing the back edge on this hood, you want to make sure that the hood is nice and tight. The hinge is nice and tight to the hood. We're a little high at the back. Maybe not though. Let's see what we get when we take the shims out now. This side feels like it's hitting on the hinge or the shim. These are only there to start off with. Typically I won't keep them there. Be real careful when you're letting it down without your shims in because you can damage paint. Still high at the back, so we're going to need to start working our hinges. This hinge is a little out, but it's better than the other side. But that back line is pretty nice looking now. If I could get that side to lay in like this side is laying in, I would be extremely happy with that position on the hood. Another thing you'll want to do is you'll want to check your position of the hood on the body. What you can do is get you a piece of wood and set it on this line here, and you can see how far out you are. This side of the hood we are out pretty good because it's sitting a little bit this way. I'll show you in just a second how to fix that. All right, I'm tightening this hood up on the back side on both sides because it's actually sitting off the hinge just a little bit. If you can see daylight between the hinge and the hood, you're not tight enough. This side's pretty good, but the front's not. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this thing up. Try it one more time, and then we'll show you how to center the hood up. Because believe me, the tightness of the bolts can make a difference in position of the hood. Yeah, we're still high over here. It's not quite resting in the spot. Coming up in that corner. So this is all pretty high. We're still over a little bit. Line is pretty good, but that's going to change once we go in and start mucking around to get this side of the hood to lay down into the chassis like we want it to. First, I want to try to get that hood centered up. Okay, in order to affect the hood in either direction, if you want the hood to go this way, you have to hit the inside of your hinges over here and the outside of your hinges over here. So you're going to tap this and this. Then you'll go in and tighten everything back up and see where you're at. There isn't a ton of lateral movement on these hoods, so just keep that in your mind as well. Take my measuring stick. That's pretty darn good. That right there I'll take, because that side's probably also in the same position in just a little bit. Yep. That's good. I like where that's sitting. Now we've got to work on getting the back edge of this hood to lay on that side like it's laying on this side. So what you're going to want to do to affect how this hood lays at the back when you drop the hood is this bolt back here and then the one right up here, and you're going to leave this one as tight as you can leave it. There's enough leverage on this when you're pushing on the hood, like I'm going to show you in just a second, in order for that hood, this one to not have to be unloosened. If you take this out, it's going to really start jacking around with everything. So I'm going to take these loose. Get my head down here so I can see where I'm putting it. These are all, by the way, 1/2-inch fasteners. Not a lot of adjustment left in this hood or this hinge. All right, so we've made that adjustment, and what's happened is now the hood has dropped back and down. We've got a great sit out across this hood. It fits really nicely, but we are dead on the paint right here. And this is just something to be careful of. I'm not worried about this because I'm showing you what to do, but honestly, if you were going to do this, you need to have another guy looking at everything you're doing. Hood position is nice, but now I've got to go in, pick the hood back up, and adjust the bolts here to pull that hood out just a hair. Quite enough yet, although I do have space in here. Too much, but too much. Go in and do that. The hood's now sitting down about where I want it to be. And when I tighten those bolts up, we should be good to go. Tightening the front one first so that I can be sure the hood's not going to roll on me when I open it all the way up. I don't want that hood sliding back while I'm trying to tighten up the back one if I do it first. It's a little high, but these hinges are kind of worn. I can probably go in and do a little more work to it, but all in all, that's pretty good. Center is high on this hood. Now there is a way to affect that as well. It works a lot better when you're dealing with a new hood because they're a little bit looser than the originals are. But you can actually take and put 2x4s in here to drop that center down and just put hand pressure or body pressure in the top center of it. But that looks pretty darn good. All right, open it and you shut it again to see where you're at. If you're at a show, you don't want to really walk back here and have to do that. But I don't know if I've got enough movement left in order to drop the hood hinge a little bit more. Another thing you can do, you can see if you have any vertical movement left in your hinge, you'll have to undo all 3 of these bolts that you have inside of here to see if there's any vertical movement left. And this is a really hard one to tighten back up because when you start picking the hood up, it's really a guessing game. I'll take and see if I can rock this one down a little bit to the front. Not really going to have a lot of movement there. Okay, both of those bolts are off. I'm going to try something here. See how loose that hinge is? That makes it tougher to align. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. All right, that is now laying really nice. I'm not going to complain about that at all. We're a little high at the center still, but again, as I've said before, there are things that we can do to adjust that by going in and putting pressure on the center of the hood. I will also further say that that is something that is going to be harder on an original hood than it is on an aftermarket hood because of the way they put the original hoods together. It just seems to always be a little tougher to do that. Fit is good. It's a little tight on this side compared to that side. So what I would probably do is go in and undo these bolts one more time and push that hood forward just a little bit in order to get it to sit in the right spot. But I'm happy with this hood fit. So that's all we're going to do for this week, folks. We're going to come back next week with putting the fenders on and aligning them to the hood. If you do want to see me show how to set that center down so that it's nice and flat against the body line, leave a comment in the section below and say, yes, I want to see the hood thing. We'll put that up possibly as a sidebar before we air this next week's video. So let me know in the comments below and we'll do a little quick sidebar piece on how to align or to get that hood center to lay flat on one of these cars. Do me a favor though, be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice, folks. You guys have a great week and we'll see you on down the road. We're very close to driving this car with the RRS front end on it. I really want to do that, and then we'll be putting a rack and pinion in. But before we can put the rack and pinion in, we need to get rid of the 3 on the tree, because rack and pinions can't run with the 3 on the tree. So then we have to move the 3 on the tree out of here, and we have to put the rack and pinion in.
But we can't put that in until we put the 5-speed for modern driver.
I'm just going to stop right